National Weather Service has issued an urgent advisory as heavy rain and thunderstorms are expected to move into the area later tonight. Motorists are advised to exercise extreme caution, as roads may become slippery and hazardous, especially in mountainous areas.
We'd like you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine you're driving down a winding mountain road with one of your fellow team members and friends from your company. Both of you humming along to one of your favorite songs as it begins to rain. It hasn't rained in quite some time. The light rain quickly turns to a complete downpour, and you can barely see 15 feet in front of you. The mountain road you're on starts to become very slick, very quick. Your friend turns down the stereo so you can concentrate, and you begin riding your brakes to ensure you don't get too much momentum going around some of these hairpin mountain turns. The good news is it's just a few more minutes, and you'll be to the bottom of the mountain, where you know there's a nice little restaurant where you can both wait out the storm. Once you get there, you'll be able to pull off the road and grab a warm bite to eat. Just as you start to make the turn on our very last switchback, your tires lose their grip and your car begins to skid. No matter how much you pump your brakes or which way you turn your wheels, your car continues to slide straight ahead. There's no guardrail and your car careens off the road, skidding down a 20-foot embankment, landing in the river down below, nose first, narrowly missing a giant boulder in the river. Both of you were wearing your seatbelts and thankfully no one was hurt. But before either of you can open a door, the car quickly begins to sink in the shallow mountain river. The impact and immersion in the water has flooded the engine, and now it's raining so hard that the river is quickly rising in the canyon. Your car now has no power and the windows won't roll down. Thankfully, the giant boulder is blocking your car from the current and keeping you from being washed down the river. You both begin to feel freezing cold water quickly surround your feet. Before you can even get your seatbelts off, the water rapidly begins to cover your knees. Your friend quickly reaches into the glove box and grabs a heavy-duty flashlight so that you can smash the driver's side window. The first time doesn't even seem to make a chip in the glass. You rear back this time with all your might, and this time the glass shatters on impact. The rain is still coming down and the river is continuing to rise. The rushing water now begins to crest over the car door, washing over your lap. As you try to unbuckle your seatbelt, you realize it's jammed. The sleeve of your jacket is now soaking wet and somehow wrapped around and stuck in the release mechanism. Water is now rising above both of your waist and is nearly up to your chest. As your team member frantically screams at you, "Go!" You look them dead in the eye as you both have the fear of imminent death in your eyes, and you scream at them, "My seatbelt is stuck!" As the river continues to rise, you both take one last gasp of air as the inside of the vehicle becomes completely submerged in the freezing cold water. You know your lungs will soon run out of air and you're faced with a decision. Do you continue to try to get your seatbelt unstuck, or do you let your friend escape out your driver's side window? You shove your friend through the window. Just as their head crests the surface, they gasp for breath. The freezing cold water now feels like 1,000,000 pins and needles on every square inch of your bodies. They take one more deep breath and quickly dive back under the water. As your friend peers into the vehicle, they can see you are still frantically trying to get your seatbelt undone. They grab hold of your jacket, and as they yank as hard as they possibly can, with both hands, your seatbelt comes free. Your friend pulls you through the window, and you quickly follow them to the surface just a few feet above the car. You gasp your deepest and sweetest breath of your lifetime, taking in the breath of life. You both continue to gasp for air as you make your way to the shoreline, just 10 feet away. As you make it out of the water, a group of people who witnessed the accident is making their way down the embankment from the road above. Sheets of heavy rainfall continue to pelt both of you, and you begin crying tears of joy, tears of relief, and tears of every other emotion you can imagine. You've both looked death square in the eye, and you've defied the odds. Only 5 minutes ago, you were singing along to your favorite song, and in an instant, everything changed. When you or your friend woke up today, you may have been worried about money, bills, problems with your car. You may have been concerned about politics or green grass, or your favorite sports team making the playoffs. You may have been worried about your kids or their grades, their choice of friends, or the neighbor's barking dog. In an instant, all you were both worried about was air. You needed oxygen. And so did your friend. All that both of you cared about was just one more breath. Just one more breath. In the most difficult situation you've ever faced, you chose to let your friend breathe. And as soon as they had their breath, they turned their focus to you, their friend, their teammate. They knew they had to help you breathe or that you were going to suffocate and die. You had a choice in that car. You could have decided not to allow your friend to pass through your window. You could have made a decision that if you couldn't breathe, neither could they. And you would have both perished. Because you allowed them to breathe, they were willing to risk everything. When the chips were down, they were willing to risk their life to get you what you needed. Air. Just one more breath. So let me ask you this. Are you willing to put your own wants and needs on hold for just a moment? To help another person catch their breath and just breathe? As we just illustrated, a lot can happen in 5 minutes. Things can go from good to bad to worse and back to good again. This can all happen in a very short amount of time if we are willing to allow others to catch their breath. We believe we will find that in most circumstances, the quickest way to being understood is to seek first to understand the other person first. Let them catch their breath first. If we're willing to provide psychological air to the other person, we believe that in most circumstances, it won't be long before they reciprocate and begin listening to you, allowing you to breathe. In our everyday life, as long as the person we are speaking with is gasping for air or is outright suffocating, whether it's because they're not being listened to or don't feel like they're being heard, then in most situations, they're not going to be able to concern themselves with our wants, with our needs, or how we feel. This is going to require a tremendous amount of faith that if you will allow the other person to take their breath first, that they will reciprocate and come back to ensure you get the air you need. If we go back to our nearly tragic example with the car in the river, if we had been unwilling to allow our teammate to go out the window and up for air, then we would have both perished. However, by allowing the person to have the air they needed, they immediately returned the favor and helped us to get the air we needed. In other words, when it comes to effective listening, when we're working to become a R.A.R.E listener here in Foundation 4 of the 7 foundations of effective communication, we must be willing to help someone else to get what they want and what they need first. Is this always going to work out in our favor? No, of course not. What's the alternative? Allowing both of us to drown rather than taking a chance? How many relationships could have been salvaged? How many families were broken that could have been saved? How many business partnerships could have been continued? How many friendships could have withstood the test of time? We believe that this single decision to be willing consistently to provide psychological air to the other person first will change the course of our destiny.